Time now for review of headlines on today's newspapers with Ombudsman's This Day and Arise Media Group and This Day Newspaper Limited Group's Executive Director, the one and only KK Kaide Komolafe, my dear brother.
Yeah, good morning, Nancy. Good morning, Ishi.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Great to be here.
So, can we start with This Day newspaper? Paper of records, as it is said to be. Right at the top of the masthead is Tinubu to lead to world leaders, G20 incomplete without Nigeria. That's a big message, isn't it? That is to say Nigeria is open for business.
For that matter.
But what's your thought about that? Is that the way we should go, bold and fearless and aggressive to say you can't do without us?
That is the way to go. Nigeria should give leadership, in Africa, especially in relating to these various geopolitical blocks, especially those ones that have economic, direct economic relevance to us. I think it's a bold statement the president made, and that is the way to go. It's not comfortable when you relate to some of these blocks. Rather, is the voice of only South Africa, and Nigeria is absent. I think it is time Nigeria stopped, from being absent in such an arena. Yeah.
When we look at the major headline there, APC PDP Trade Accusations over the inscription on election judgment. Atiku demands to know whether Tinubu's legal team provided clerical service to the Presidential Election Petition Council. And he says, we watermarked our copies of court judgment, President's lawyer clarifies, and then again debunking the insinuation of predetermined manipulations. I mean, a lot of feedback coming in from that judgment that we saw on Wednesday. Mr. Keke, your thoughts on this particular story?
Yeah, I imagine it's an avoidable controversy that you're having there. You're talking about the source of a document, a public document, especially from court records for that matter. I think it's scandalous that you're having that kind of a controversy. In the first place, in the stories, that's I mean, we could make a general critique of all the story has been reported. The owner of the document, the source of the document, is the appeal court, the tribunal. In all this, nobody has told us what the tribunal, that is the secretariat, the tribunal. The office, what has been said that is, what is circulated now that has the watermark of one of the parties, the respondents, Yes. One of the respondents, Now, nobody has told us that the court has disowned, its document or has confirmed that what is being circulated is so. That is number one. Number two, it is not only the Tinubu lawyers who got copies, that have the label, The other parties. Actually, it was even the PDP that, right at the open court, on the day of judgment, that actually requested for it and that they needed it so that they could prepare, their appeal, in earnest, Now, other parties got. Now, nobody has also gone to this other part. That, okay, this copy that is being disputed, is it the same copy that is given to you? That is the copy that is given to Atiku's lawyers, to Obi's lawyers, and others, maybe INEC and the rest. Is it the same? Does he also have the same mark? Because the explanation that the Tinubu lawyer, Babatuti Ogala, SAN, has given us is that they got their own copy, and in order to distribute it within their own group, they put the label. So the veracity or otherwise of it, it's a thing that could easily be checked, from those two sources, either from the court where the document, emanated from, or to also cross-check from the other parties who received the certified true copy from the court, whether their own also has that emblem. So you don't discover that this, this controversy, is purely avoidable. But the important thing to make there is that, in orchestrating this, in 2023 election, will not be the first election in this country, and it will not be the last. We must not, because of legitimate feelings that people may have about this election now in the process, try to destroy all the institutions. Because the situation that you have given the head is that perhaps it was not the original. That the document that was not produced by the judges was written for for them, and read already. The police, paraded, who accused Babatunde Fashola, SAN, former governor of Lagos State, just before that the senior advocate of Nigeria and former governor of Lagos State and immediate past minister of works, that he actually wrote, the judgment, and you have all that kind of insinuations. So I think, why we all have the right, to criticize the judiciary if it's not doing well, but the judiciary should be protected, from this, this moral assault. You don't begin to impugn the integrity of an institution like the democracy. Political theorists, have been saying for all of the years that, one way of sustaining, the greatest way to sustain liberal democracy is to strengthen the institutions. That whereas, maybe you may not need to produce strong leaders, but that if you have strong institutions, then the system will be able to survive. But the situation where, because of the dispute in an election, you start, inflicting enormous moral assault, on institutions, in a baseless manner, it is not good. So I think we should see it from that, whether context here.
The other story just below the masthead, which says despair or surrender is not an option, Obi tells supporters. What do you say to that, especially as a journalist of repute who's been in the industry for so long, and you're looking at what has happened, especially, in fact, let me even ask you, in terms of the fear that was palpable that people had and concerns that they had, that once the result is out, if it does not favor a particular party, that there's going to be chaos and anarchy, and that never happened. So the leader of the Labour Party is saying, don't despair, don't surrender, we're going to go all the way to the Supreme Court. What's your thought?
Thank you so much, NMC, for bringing that up. I was actually about making that point. Now, you can distinguish between the responses of the candidates themselves who contested this election, who went to court, namely Alhaji Abubakar Atiku, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and Mr. Peter Obi. Their response well measured, matured, and they spoke like Democrats. Both of them pointedly in their statement, if you read the context, expressed confidence in the judiciary. They did not doubt, and also, and it's quite in order, well spoken that Mr. Obi said that the supporters, should not lose hope. That there's no basis to despair. That they are still going to the Supreme Court, and already their lawyers are working, towards, preparing their appeal. But that is different from what some of the political publicists, and their supporters, they are doing. Is a contrast. Obi has never, said anything, to denigrate the judiciary. Neither Vice President Atiku Abubakar. But it is this publicist, and the reckless, supporters on the social media, thinking that, because if you don't have your way, if these two don't go your way, then you must destroy the institution of the judiciary. So what the candidates themselves would have said, quite in order, and that should be encouraged. And their supporters and their publicists, they should take a cue from what their principals are saying. I think what they have done is commended, and they have behaved as people who really believe in democratic culture. Okay. So I think it's quite in order, and they should be commended. Both Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and Mr. Peter.
Have that on here.
Yes, one other story I think we should take on the front. It's on trace in other papers too.
Yes.
It's about this story of. The observers, because the court ruled that their report is of no judicial value. I think that point should be stressed. Yes, it is so. Of course, it cannot be otherwise. The validation of election in any country does not depend on the view of any observer. America is still dealing, judicially, with its own election. We have not heard of any observers report, being of any value in what is going on, in the way America is dealing with it. So this mentality of
so
making.
What is the value of independent observers?
It's moral. It's moral. It's not more than that, and it does not confer it does not confer legitimacy or otherwise, or rather, let me put it this way: it is not a validation of election. The validation of election in Nigeria does not depend on the view of any observer, especially an a standard observer. And let me also tell you this. Let me also tell you this.
When you have independent observers,
yes,
if they're not going to have any value whatsoever, then why have them?
I'm saying that what the court is saying is that it is of no judicial value, and that is the position. I'm saying it has moral value. For instance, they can reinforce your impression, about it. They can, confirm what you think about the election, and maybe people outside Nigeria. But what I'm saying is that we should not exaggerate the importance of it. I'm saying that it does not constitute a legitimation, or validation of election, but it's a position, which will have, a moral effect, in terms of how people think about it, But to the extent of not thinking that because you take it to court and that now should determine what judges will say.
I will have to pick you up on this. When you say that, I am beginning to wonder. You have in place a set of people, individual, both local and international. They observed and they said that the election was not free and fair. Do you say that we should ignore all of that and say it's just moral value?
I'm not saying that we should ignore it, but I'm not saying that you should not equate that view with the view of the Supreme Court. The body that has the final say on this election, the conclusion, is the Supreme Court. But the way we exaggerate it, we think that what the observers say is almost equivalent of what the Supreme Court, might say. I'm saying it's not so. It's of no judicial, but I'm saying that the statement of the court is correct. Tell me any country in the world where the decision, the validation of election is based on what observers say, whether independent or independent.
It's
no.
I think
let's take Business Stars.
It should be based on the evidence that is brought.
Before the court, I'm saying that what the court is saying is wrong. Contrary to what many Nigerians, may think, and that we are just making a mystification of it. And in any case, that these observers, their report also is not invaluable. You get me? Let me tell you, in this same country, during Abacha regime, observers came from the West and they observed those shenanigans that Abacha did, and they wrote beautiful reports and said that they were free and fair elections. So nobody should mystify what the observers are saying.
Okay, let's go to This Day Style. On the cover of This Day Style today, we have the amazing Banke Kuku, a force for fashion. I'm such a huge fan of her, so this makes me so excited. Banke Kuku is a renowned textile artist and fashion designer whose unique designs have captivated the fashion world with her eponymous brand, Banke Kuku. Over the years, she has made a significant impact in fashion, textile design, and interior design, showcasing the rich cultural heritage of Nigeria while embracing modern design sensibilities. You can even see what she's wearing there. It has that kuku print. She's definitely turned the textile industry on its head here in Nigeria. Of course, congratulations to her being on the cover of This Day Style this Sunday. But if we can move on quickly to...
Let me also say something about it. This Day Style,
Yes.
why we congratulate both Banke Kuku, for appearing. Also, to also congratulate This Day Style, for that topical cover. And also that the readers also will also find very interesting. The editor's note, because she calls it the editor's letter. That's the executive editor of This Day Style,
Yes.
The topic she has treated is very important, and that is the addiction, to the social media, how it is becoming really a problem, more or less reminding us that at the end of the day, we are not gadgets, that we have lives, outside, the gadget. Very instructive statement she made there, very...
Definitely, I agree. Social media can be quite...
It's a great addition that she has today.
Well, let's move on now to The Will. The lead story there reads, unsettled presidential election court judgment, unsettled issues Supreme Court may have to decide, and that's what we've been talking about. And I think it's just important to note, I mean, there had been this call by the Labour Party and PDP saying that they hadn't received the true certified copy of the judgment, and they have 21 days to file their petitions going to the Supreme Court. Now, there's this push for maybe more time, seeing as they didn't get that copy in time. What are your thoughts about this, Mr. Keke?
No, I understand they have 21 days. Okay, yes, I remember the one of the article's lawyers, Mr. Uche, SAN, actually reminded the tribunal that day that they needed it, if possible, immediately, so that they would. And I think they got it, I think the following day or so. So, perhaps you will say they still have more time, for it. But I agree with you. Ideally, the thing could have been that immediately after the judgment, since the document was ready, I mean, it was the same document they read, it should have been made available to the lawyer so that they could go to work, Yeah. But I reckon they still have some time.
So on the wheel, SRDC Udo, Marian Okonjo's story is right there and looking as beautiful as you can possibly imagine, and the epic story of the epic journey through
real estate, leadership, and impact. Of course, more on that in the Wheel Downtown. Of course, this is it's a second edition that comes out on Sundays as well. Do we have time to take one more paper?
Okay. The producer is saying, let's end it. All
right, then. I think that's a good place to end. Thank you so much for being with us in the studio. Of course, we always appreciate your time and your analysis.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so on that note, it's a wrap, and that brings us to the end of the morning show today. Thank you for watching, and thanks to the entire team. I am Kayode Akintemi. Have a great Sunday.
Of course, and I am Sheiton Atigari from our entire team here in Lagos, Nigeria. Enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day. Goodbye.